Now we're traveling from space to flying the sky with the U.S. Air Force Thunderbirds.
I'm Hillary Sheevy, the mayor of the city of Reno. I'm so excited to join you today for this virtual experience, meeting the amazing female members of the United States Air Force Thunderbirds that are based right here in our great state of Nevada at Nellis Air Force Base. Have a fantastic day learning about aviation and aerospace. And remember, girls can do anything.
Wow, Major Curran really flies fast. Let's learn more about the Thunderbirds.
Hi, I'm Major Michelle Kern, Thunderbird 5, the lead solo.
Hello, and I am Tech Sergeant Christine Pearson, and I am the Assistant Dedicated Crew Chief for the number 5 jet.
Hi, I'm Staff Sergeant Jessica Englishby, and I am the 5-low Dedicated Crew Chief.
Hi, I'm Sarah Hinesley, and I'm in the 6th grade.
Hi, I'm Veronica Hinesley, and I'm in the 6th grade.
Okay, so for my first question, this will go to Major Curran. Did you always want to be a fighter pilot?
So no, I unfortunately, when I was a kid, wasn't really exposed to aviation. I wasn't part of Women in Aviation International or any of these cool conferences like you guys are getting to do. So I didn't go to an air show growing up at all. I more joined the Air Force because I wanted to travel. I wanted job security and I wanted something that was challenging and exciting. And I was already in college on a scholarship through the Air Force when I started to go on a few base visits and see some jets flying. And once I saw them in person and heard the engine, all the jet noise, I got really excited about that. And I was like, that's something I want to do. So I was probably about 20 years old when I decided. And then once I made that decision, it was kind of like, this is my goal and I'm going after it. And that's how I got here eventually.
Cool.
And I have another question for you. What does it mean to be the lead solo pilot?
Yeah, so if you've ever seen an air show with the Thunderbirds, you'll see 6 aircraft flying. There's 4 that are almost always together with each other in a diamond shape. So that's numbers 1 through 4, and we call them the diamond. And then the other 2 aircraft are the solos. So when you're first on the team as a solo, you start as number 6, which is called the opposing solo. But then when you're on your second year, you kind of graduate and become the lead solo number 5. So that's my position now, and I'm actually going into my 3rd year. So myself and 6, we kind of do our own individual maneuvers. We do things like the max turn, the vertical rolls. We showcase the performance of the F-16, where the diamond kind of showcases flying close formation and kind of grace and beauty with their maneuvers. And then we also do some opposing passes where we fly right at each other. It looks like we're actually going to hit in the middle, but obviously we don't. And we pass each other. So that's kind of where the opposing solo title comes from. So as the lead solo, I'm kind of in charge of the 2 aircraft that make up number 5 and 6.
Mm. And this next question goes to all 3 of you. What is your favorite part of your job?
Oh, man.
My favorite part of my job is seeing all the little girls at the air shows. There's not a huge amount of females in the military in general. So when we make our appearance out in these small towns where we're the only military force they've ever seen, and we have these little girls, much like yourselves, come up to us, say, wow, you're in too? You're in the military too? That's really inspiring because they don't see a lot of it. So that's probably my favorite, other than the Make-A-Wish interactions that we have with the kids that are unfortunately diagnosed with whatever they may have, and the impact that we have with them just to make them smile and happy for that day is my favorite part.
For sure.
Yeah, KP really hit it on the head with that one. When I first got to the team, my favorite part was just how closely knit we all were as a unit. And then when I went to my first air show, interacting with the young fans, specifically the girls, for me personally, it just hit different. Honestly, seeing how much we inspire everybody and just make people want to join the Air Force. Because as a female maintainer, there's very few and far between of us. And just my 5 years in the Air Force alone, I've seen that number grow, and I look forward to seeing it grow in the future.
Yeah, they pretty much covered my favorite part as well. Like, interactions like this are just so rewarding for us. And that's really why I applied to join the team. I was already flying the F-16. So while the flying I get to do on the team is a little bit different and closer to the ground and closer to other aircraft, so that's exciting. But the reason I wanted to apply for the team is to have this platform to show people that, you know, little girls can see me fly, see me get out of the jet and be like, that's someone that looks like me. That's something I could do one day. So that's just so rewarding. So I just love these interactions.
Yeah, they're cool.
Okay, next question. I have a question for Major Curran. Why is the 5 upside down on your uniform?
Yeah, so that's one of the most common questions I get asked. The joke is because I forget what number I am, and then I can look down and it's right side up for me.
Oh yeah,
That is
5.
smart.
Yeah, right. But actually it's because as the lead solo, if you've ever seen our show, we have a couple maneuvers where one jet's upside down and one is right side up. And we have the Calypso and the reflection where it's kind of a mirror image. And once you're more experienced and you're in your 2nd year and you become number 5, you're always the jet that's upside down or inverted. So now when I go past the crowd upside down, my 5 is right side up.
Okay. And I have another question for you. Do you ever get motion sickness while you're flying?
So luckily I don't. It's a really common thing that people struggle with when they first learn to fly, though. I would say, you know, a quarter of the people in my pilot training class struggled with that, but your body kind of just gets used to it after a while. And most of them were able to push through, and it's not a problem for them by the time they graduate from pilot training. I was that kid that just loved tire swings and roller coasters and merry-go-rounds. It was like, spin it faster, as fast as you can. So I kind of never had an issue with motion sickness. So I've been pretty lucky.
Yeah.
I have a question for Staff Sergeant Pearson and Staff Sergeant Englishby. What is it like being a woman aircraft mechanic?
Go ahead, Evie.
So honestly, the hardest part about being a female aircraft mechanic is just not getting to interact with girls all the time, because we all need girl time, like, honestly. However, I just feel like I'm someone doing my job every single day who also happens to be a female. And at the end of the day, that's what it is. I know this trio right here looks really cool, but at the end of the day, I'm doing my job, she's doing her job, and Mace is just flying airplanes. But the added bonus that's so much fun to us is getting to see how big of an impact it has on the world.
I'd say one of the hardest part is there isn't enough, but I'd say that, as she mentioned earlier, I've been in for 10 years and my shop is off the flight line normally, but we've had 3 or 4 girls first versus 80 males in one shop. And as we progress in the Air Force and in the military in general, I've seen my shop get up to 10 to 12 girls, and it keeps growing. And so that's, it's a hard part because there aren't many girls to kind of, if you have a question, it's harder to ask a male a certain question versus a female or in leadership roles. But as the times are going on, we're getting more and more, and it's easier. So I'd say, we're working as hard as the males to complete the mission, and we have each other's backs. And it's just, I'm really fortunate that we have this whole team to back us in anything that we need. So.
Yeah. And I have a question for Staff Sergeant Pearson and Staff Sergeant Englishby. Is your work messy and dirty?
On some days it can be, most definitely. I know our jets look really clean, but there's a lot that goes into them that is dirty, just like a car. There's oil and gas and things like that. So whenever they break and we have to fix them, we will have a dirty job per se, but it just depends on the day.
You just gotta wash your hands, girls.
Yeah,
you gotta wash them hands.
Okay, I have a question for Major Curran. How do you control the plane while flying upside down?
So it's actually, once you do it quite a bit, you get used to it, and it feels pretty similar to flying right side up. Just becomes a normal thing that you do. Before I joined the Thunderbirds, I almost never flew upside down, even though I was in an aircraft that could do it. You really have to tighten down that lap belt because that's what's holding you. So you're kind of hanging on that like you would if you were upside down on the monkey bars. But we put what's called nose down trim in an aircraft. So usually if you take your hands off the controls, the jet will just fly straight and level. But because we're so close to other aircraft, we need such precise inputs. We actually make it so that the nose would pitch down if we were to let go. So when you roll upside down, that helps you a little bit, but you actually have to push on the stick to hold level flight. So you roll, you push, and then I'm just hanging in the seat. Anything that's not like tightened down will float up. I have a braid in my hair usually, and in videos you can see that's floating up in the air. But yeah, it's similar to controlling the aircraft right side up. It's just something you kind of get used to.
Okay. And I also have a question for you. What does your crew chief do to help you?
Oh, a lot of things. So it's interesting when we're in front of a crowd and we step out and we do what's called a show launch, and we're all at attention. It's caged. It's like a choreographed dance. Everyone is looking a certain way, doing things on cue. It can be pretty stressful at first because all these people are watching you. So one of my favorite things is that's my first time I'm seeing my crew chiefs usually that day. So when I march up to them and I salute them, we do our little high fives. We usually have some jokes. So it's nice to have that comic relief and kind of get you relaxed before we go into the show. So that part's awesome. And then the biggest thing is what they've both kind of touched on is that I'm trusting them to make my aircraft safe. In a normal squadron, I would go out and I would kind of inspect the aircraft before I got in the cockpit to fly it. So I would go around, I would look in panels, I would look at the tires and the brakes and the oil and all these different things. And on this team, because we're doing things like a show launch where I just march right out and then I go up the ladder without checking anything, I'm having full faith in them that they're doing everything that they're supposed to make my jet safe. So it's actually a pretty serious trust relationship that we have.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's one more question for all three of you. What advice do you have for girls who want to grow up to be leaders like you?
What I always tell girls is that, like, once you set a big goal like that, and it's something that people might raise an eyebrow at, right? If you're 12 years old and you're like, I want to be a Thunderbird pilot one day, that's probably not the answer they're used to getting from a 12-year-old. So you kind of have to get comfortable with people reacting like that and just know that it is something that you can do. And you just put in the hard work, just like all the guys do. And when you do that and you do your job well, it becomes something that people don't even bat an eye at. They don't see you as a male or a female. They just see you as someone who is good at your job. So you kind of got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable when people like raise a little eyebrow at you when you tell them what your dream is. But really, if you know that that's what you want to do, it's something you can definitely attain.
Definitely hard work, and something I advise is to never stop asking questions. You can always learn something from the person standing next to you, no matter how big, how small, or if you're kind of shy to ask it because you think it might be considered a dumb question. It's not. Always ask those questions because that's how you're going to learn. That's how you're going to get further, and that's how you're going to become proficient at whatever you want to do when you get older.
Yeah, absolutely. Just do what makes you happy. And if you have a goal, follow through with it. No matter what kind of judgment you might think you're getting, as long as you're doing what makes you happy and what will better your future, that's all that matters. Just keep your head up and keep on pushing.
Yeah. Mhm.
And one thing that I know I didn't even realize is when I was a young pilot or before I became a pilot and I was looking at people in the position I am now, I was like, how do they do that with such confidence? And how do you like get rid of those butterflies and not being afraid to
Mhm.
be on camera or
Yeah.
perform an air show in front of 100,000 people? And we still have those things. We still get nervous. It's just something that you accept that you're going to feel that way and you're going to second guess yourself and you're going to have doubts. You accept that that's normal and everyone feels that way, no matter how successful they are and whatever they're doing. You kind of put that away in a little box. You focus on the task at hand and you go forward. So just know that that is very normal, and we all feel that way before things that are kind of in front of a crowd or things that are hard.
Yeah. Mhm. Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you guys.
My name is Technical Sergeant Jasmine Love. My job is non-destructive inspection, and I'm also the support section chief for the Thunderbirds. It's the best job in the Air Force to me, honestly, but we inspect aircraft parts for cracks and for defects using methods that are not destructive and they're not going to damage the part in any way. We have a few different methods that we use, but one of my favorite ones is fluorescent penetrant, and we also analyze engine oil. There isn't any specific obstacle or a specific challenge that I feel like I had to overcome, but I feel like just being a Black woman, a minority woman in a male-dominated career field, it's been huge. It's been a huge challenge to try and overcome some of those barriers and some of those issues. It really does suck to feel like you have to work extra hard or do twice the work or be extra special to succeed in this career field, in the military as a whole, and aerospace as a whole. You feel like you have to do so much extra. So being a woman, just period, in the military, not necessarily a Black woman, but a woman, period, is difficult. And then being a Black woman on top of that, it's twice as hard, you know what I mean? So you just have to be the best, you know? You can do whatever it is that you want to do. Just put your mind to it. You really, really, really can do it. And sometimes it might even be in your head that you have to work extra hard, and you may not actually have to depend on your supervision. Just know that it is possible, that you can do it. Just put your mind to it, work as hard as you possibly can, and be passionate about it. That's my favorite word in the entire world, passion. So as long as you're passionate about whatever it is that you're doing, it's gonna shine through and other people are gonna notice. Being in the military is one of my best decisions, one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. It was such a spur of the moment decision for me, and it was one of the best decisions that I think I've ever made in my life. And you just have to know if it's for you or if it's not for you. Try and find a career that you like, if it's in aerospace or not. Try and find a career that you like, and I think it's great. I think that any woman, any person as a whole could love being in the military.
Hi, I'm Veronica Hinesley,
And I'm Sarah Hinesley.
and we're here to interview the Thunderbirds.
So ladies, welcome. Can you please state your name, your title, and describe your role in the Thunderbirds?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, just thank you so much for having us. We're really excited. My name is Captain Katie Moorcamp. I'm Thunderbird number 10, the squadron's executive officer and section commander. So my job is to perform expert HR, admin, force support actions on behalf of the commander.
I am Staff Sergeant Stephanie Pasquale. I am the NCOIC of Thunderbird Administrations. I work under the Commander Support Staff, which also entails of everything that Captain Moorcamp here does. I kind of help her and our boss, our commander, deal with manage all the programs that's needed for the Thunderbirds to stand up.
And hi, I'm Technical Sergeant Yuka Harayama, and I am the unit training manager. What I do is I develop, manage, evaluate the training program, and basically I make sure that everyone knows how to do their jobs in order to keep the jets up in the air.
Okay.
Our first question is for Captain Morecamp. Not all women on the Thunderbirds are pilots. Can you tell us about the importance of non-flying aviation jobs?
Absolutely. Yeah. So most of the women actually on the Thunderbirds are in our non-flying jobs. And the importance of that is critical. So those jets don't get up in the air if there isn't a maintainer that gets them ready to go. If there isn't a training manager who makes sure that that maintainer is skilled and trained in their job. And they certainly don't, the maintainer, the training manager, all of us don't do, aren't able to do our jobs if people like Stephanie aren't making sure that they're getting paid in the right, the status, that all the administrative actions are in line, so that we can actually show up and do our jobs. So every single thing that you see going into the air show are those non-aviation support jobs. And there is six pilots, 6 demonstration pilots, but about 127 other people in the squadron, a lot of which are female. And we are making sure that those jets fly safely. And then that when you actually see the air show, you see the music, the narration, all that kind of stuff, the production value, but that we're doing it safely as well. So it's absolutely critical, all those non-aviation support jobs.
Yeah. And my next question is for all 3 of you. Have any of you flown in a military plane? And if so, what kind of plane was it and how was your experience?
I could go first.
Go for it.
So I just had my familiarization flight is what we call it. So I got to fly in a Thunderbird jet, which is an F-16. I'm scared of heights. I get motion sickness easily. Honestly, I pushed back this flight because I just didn't want it. But in the end, nobody else gets this opportunity to experience flying in a F-16. So I did it. I mean, I didn't do so well, but I'm glad that
But you rallied.
I rallied.
You passed.
Yes,
I got
exactly.
up there. Yeah, I was up there for a while, but I'm alive. It was a good experience, so it was good.
Okay.
You want to pile on?
Yes, so I've never flown in a military jet before, but being on the team, you do have the opportunity to fly in the F-16. So whenever my time comes, I'm super excited about it.
So we all fly, all of us, when we go to shows, and by all of us, I mean the non-pilots, so support personnel, those 127 people I was talking about. The way that we get to air shows is we fly in C-17s, typically, some sort of support and mobility aircraft. So we actually pack up a C-17 Steph and Yuka are going to be on the team that actually uploads tens of thousands of pounds of cargo each and every week onto that C-17 that we take with us to every single show. So we fly on those C-17s every week. I personally have flown in the back of the F-16 of Thunderbird jet about 3 times now. I love it. It's great. I'm a lot like Steph where I do get the motion sickness. So that's just something that I have to tackle. Throughout my career, I've also flown in the back or in various helicopters, the HH-60 as well. And then C-130s as well. I've flown in a couple different airframes. It's a lot of fun. I kind of wanted to be a pilot when I was a kid. I found out I was colorblind, which is totally fine. It is what it is. But I still love any chance that I have to get in an aircraft and fly around.
Yes. You're next.
I know I had something on mine that was sort of not on the questions, but no, forget it. Okay. Next question goes to Technical Sergeant Harayama and Staff Sergeant Pasquale. What is your favorite part of the job?
I'll go first. So my favorite part of the job is actually learning a little bit about everyone else's job. So in order for me to develop a training program, I need to know what everyone does and how it impacts the whole mission. So basically, like I'll learn how the maintainers work on the aircraft. Maybe someone else is fueling up the jet. There might be someone else on the radio keeping contact with the pilots. So there's definitely a lot of moving pieces to, fly all these jets.
My favorite part about being on the team is the camaraderie. We travel 200 plus days a year together. So whenever we're at a different show side, we only know each other. So we hang out with everyone a lot, and it's just getting to know other team members on a personal level than on a work level. So you get to learn everybody else's Air Force story, why they joined, why they're still in. So I think that's the most enjoyable for me is to learn about other people.
Yeah. And this next question goes to Captain Morecamp. Have you ever been the only girl at work? And do you have any advice for girls who are worried about working in aviation where there are more boys than there are girls?
Great question. Yeah, most times I'm the only girl or one of the only girls on the team. I think I was the only female officer at most of my bases. And the one that stands out the most to me is Korea. I was the only female officer on my team in Korea. But again, through most of my career. I'd say it's kind of something that I got used to pretty early. I went to the Air Force Academy, and there's only about 17% of Air Force Academy cadets are female. So we're definitely in the minority of people, but it's really just something that you kind of get used to. At first, it was a little more intimidating, and I do remember being intimidated back at the academy. But the biggest piece of advice that I would give young women and girls who want to be in aviation or any other industry where they aren't, in the majority or even in 50% of it, is that you're always stronger than you think. You're always smarter than you think. So own that. I've seen numerous times again, I've been just completely blown away by women who've mentored me and how strong they are and how sure of themselves they are. And I put in a lot of extra work, to make sure that I was, 100% sure of what I was saying. But the other part of that is that just to trust yourself, be confident, and trust that you deserve a seat at that table just as much, if not more than the guy next to you. Confidence is key, and just never forget that.
Yeah. I have a question for Technical Sergeant Hariyama and Staff Sergeant Pasquale. Can you share your cultural background? Also, this is a two-part question.
Yes. So I am half Japanese and half Filipino.
I am Filipino.
Okay. And can you give advice for girls of the same background and how we can succeed in aviation?
So I could start. Most of the time, people just may feel off about your background just because they don't understand where you come from. Obviously, everybody grows up in a different household and are brought up differently. So best thing to do is just educate them on what you do and why you do it in your household. Cook them your favorite meal from your hometown, and just education is key, and helping others learn about your cultural background is good.
And just let them get used to you.
Oh yeah.
Exactly. And so for me, I've always been a small person, and that's because of my Asian genes. And honestly, you ladies might be taller than me right now if we stood up. But the thing about it is, it doesn't matter what your size is, what your color is, where you come from. Just as long as you work hard for what you want, you can do anything.
And I have a question for all three of you. Why did you join the Air Force?
You want to take that one first?
So after I graduated high school, I went into university. I was trying out school. It was getting too much expensive for me, so I went to a community college, and then I just found out that I just did not know what I wanted to do. I didn't want to keep staying at my mom's place, you know, and just asking her for money. So I joined the Air Force so I can get that push and figure out what I really wanted to do in life. Also, it helped me with my school, the benefits, but it's been going good for me so far. 7 years in, I like it. I love it.
Oh, yes, my turn. So I joined to travel the world and have free education. But basically, like my parents couldn't really afford to send me to school. But now I'm almost finished with my master's degree. So it's really helped me a lot. And I've been to almost 12 countries in the world.
Wow.
So it's definitely been beneficial.
Dang, 12, that's awesome.
Yes.
Holy smokes.
I've only been to 2.
Yeah, so have I.
Which ones?
I know.
First of all, China.
Yeah,
Second
that's
of
where
all,
I'm born.
America.
Oh,
Yeah, those
cool.
Yeah,
Those are the only 2 places I've ever been.
and that's the only 2 places I've ever been.
No, you've been to Russia. You're born there.
Yeah, good point. But I haven't been there physically to see it myself because I was only a baby.
Fair. Those are pretty cool places.
Yeah.
So I joined the Air Force. It's a little similar to probably both of them. I wanted to, I ran track and played basketball, played a lot of sports in high school. I never really saw myself graduating from college. The Air Force and because it's expensive, it's really expensive. And the Air Force Academy offered me a position on their track team. The Air Force Academy is a Division I college. And I was like, holy smokes, yeah, I'll run track for a D1 college. That's pretty exciting. And honestly, I wasn't the greatest in school. I never really figured I'd graduate. By the grace of God and the help of my friends, I did. And I learned a lot about myself while I was there, what I was capable of. And so that's kind of how, so when you graduate from the Air Force Academy, you receive a commission in the Air Force. So then I entered the Air Force as a second lieutenant. And then from there, again, I kind of was just like, yeah, I think I'll just figure, kind of be in the Air Force for as long as I need to. But the people I met along the way were amazing, just like my teammates. And that's really why I stay in, because the people next to me, to my right, my left, and then obviously this job gave me a whole nother amazing opportunity to work with amazing people, do an amazing mission, meet people all over the country, all over the world. So that travel piece is really exciting as well.
Yes, and and our last question for you is, well, for all of you, what advice do you have for girls girls our age who are interested in aviation?
That's a good one.
Don't be discouraged. You have a voice, use it. Don't be shy. Find your motivation and just keep at it. If you need to write in your journal every day to, track your progress, do that. And then, you could look back, look at that journal from like a couple months from now, and then you'll see how far you've come. Like a lot of people get easily discouraged, but when you see, when you understand like what you went through, you'll have that motivation back up and running again. Like that's what I do. I keep a journal in my nightstand. I'll look at it from time to time, and then I see what I can be grateful for right here and right now.
Yeah.
I'll go next. So one thing is, don't let anything hold you back. Most importantly, yourself, because you can be your biggest critic, but you can also be your biggest fan. So with that, don't ever think that you're too small, all right? And don't ever think that you're not strong enough or not smart enough, because we all ladies know that we can do things as good as the boys, if not better. And remember that you are strong, you're beautiful, and that you're powerful.
Yeah, kind of motivated me already. I guess my biggest piece of advice is the practical side. Like, just go and find the grassroots, those little organizations, whether it's Civil Air Patrol, Junior ROTC, whatever it is. You've got an airfield, a local airfield, anything like that, depending on your age, As you get older, I would definitely recommend things like junior ROTC. If you're at all interested in the Air Force Academy, they do a summer seminar out in Colorado Springs for high schoolers. They also have sports camps for younger kids, all that kind of stuff that really just kind of allows you to get a peek at, that institution, but also that aviation side of things. So definitely ask the questions in your local community, people around you that are, leaders in aviation. If you have them, seek that out. And then find out if what part of aviation speaks to you. Is it flying? Is it maintaining? Is it any number of other things that are necessary to get the airplanes in the air? Figure it out. But again, by going in and immersing yourself in that. I think it's one thing, to like think about it and be like, maybe I could be a pilot, or maybe I'd want to do this. But being able to actually experience it, ask those questions and do the things, I guess is the way to, not the best way of saying it, but get in the airplane. There you go. Like find a way to get
understand.
Yeah, I understand. Everybody understands.
Well, thank you guys again so much. This
Thank you
is
for being
really
here.
been amazing. You guys are super professional, great questions. It's a lot of fun.
Now that we've met the Thunderbirds, let's take a virtual tour of their museum at Nellis Air Force Base in Nevada.
Welcome to the Thunderbird Hangar, and here we will start our tour of the museum. Where we like to start off our tours is right here in Thunderama, and our Thunderama is pretty much like a Thunderbird creed, something that every Thunderbird strives to live by every day, and it goes like this. In these halls you will find mirrored and honest pride, an almost unbelievable attention to detail, and a spirit of achievement that touches and inspires everything that is done here. And over here is our batch. We're 3 original members of the 1953 team. We're scouting through libraries in Phoenix, Arizona to find a design for the Thunderbird. The most distinctive is probably the red, white, and blue, which red stands for courage, white stands for truth, and blue for justice.
Right here we have a picture of Major Dick Catledge. He's our first commander / leader. In the picture next to him, we have the first team members. It's Major Dick Catledge with the Patillo twins, Bill and Buck, as the left and right wing. Behind him, there's slot pilot Bob Kanaga, and behind him is our first maintenance officer, Aubrey Brown. And here's a picture of our first enlisted team member. It's a very small team, and also in this case is some of the first coveralls that they wore, and some of our first original memorabilia. And in this case, the F-84G, this model airplane, is the airplane that Captain Bill McCormick took home and became the original paint scheme. If you actually look really close, you can actually see the cutout of the newspapers that he used for the stars on the tail of the aircraft. It's really cool.
Over here in this case, we have some vintage logs from the 1960s. They are handwritten logs with information from various show sites. Over here, we have some really cool flight suits that were worn by early members of the team. And speaking of trailblazers, we have Sergeant Sarah Johnson, who was the team's first female enlisted member, and she did admin for the team. And here we have our first African-American pilot, Lloyd Fig Newton. And then we have Nicole Malachowski, our first female pilot on the team.
So we have 12 officers on the team. 1 through 8 are all Air Force pilots, and 1 through 4 make up the diamond. 5 and 6 are the solos, so you'll see them doing the solo maneuvers during the show. 7 is our director of operations, and 8 is our advanced pilot and narrator. 9 is our flight surgeon. 10 is our executive officer. 11 is our maintenance officer, and 12 is our public affairs officer. All right, and over here, we're gonna see test scale models of all of the jets that the team has ever flown throughout the team's history. So we obviously started off at the F-84 Gulf, which is the Thunderjet all the way over here. And then we go all the way right here to the F-16, which is what we fly today. An interesting fact about these jets right here, the T-38 Talon is the only training jet that the team has ever used in aerial demonstrations.
Over here we have our sports case where we display different things we've gotten over the years from different teams and different athletes. One thing of note that we have is this award here, given to us by Carl Edwards. He actually flew with us the day prior, and then he gifted us the award, which we keep here, and you can still see some of the champagne fingerprints on it. And then we also do flyovers. We do the Air Force Academy graduation every year, as well as the Daytona 500, and we've also flew over Disney World.
On this wall, we have different maneuvers that go on through the air show. One in particular I want to talk about is Calypso Pass. On the Calypso Pass, you can see that the number 5 is right side up. This is due to the fact that the lead solo flies inverted throughout majority of the show. And because of this, it's tradition for us to normally flip our 5s upside down. And here in this case, we have 28 different patches, what we like to call meatballs. And with these meatballs, it represents each different AFSC that makes up the United States Thunderbirds.
This is our VIP room, and in this room we have a lot of heritage and history. We also have this briefing table that is a replica of what our pilots sit at before and after they go out to fly. It just kind of assess how things went and improve from there. In this corner we have a lot of memorabilia kind of explaining our heritage with the Thunderbird. So the Thunderbird deity, which is what we're named after, is this giant bird from Arizona. It's of course a legend, not a real bird, but it shoots lightning from its eyes and thunder from its wings when it flaps. So it's a very powerful deity and is a great descriptor of our team and what we do. In this corner, we have reserved a position of honor for the father of the Thunderbirds, General Creech. He was a prior team member, and in the aftermath of the Diamond crash, where 14 members passed away during an aerial demonstration, there was a rebuilding that had to happen, and they weren't sure if they wanted to keep the team because there were a few mishaps that have happened, and General Creech put his rank and career on the line, saying that if we change the airframe to the F-16 and put in new processes and procedures for safety, that we would be able to successfully continue having this team. And we went over 30 years without any mishaps, and so he has proven that this team can be done safely. And the most prominent feature in this room is the mural that's right behind me. Now this depicts all the aircraft that our team has flown in our history since 1953, with of course our most recent aircraft being the most prominent one, which is the F-16. This was donated to us by two brothers, Matthew and Mark, in 1985.
I'm going to go ahead and give you a little bit of a tour of kind of where the magic happens. It's the hangar. As you can see, obviously very big. Ironically, we can actually fit all of our airplanes in here. We have flags from all 50 states as well as over 50 countries that we have visited throughout the time the Thunderbirds have really been around. Over here to the left, you can kind of see an airplane that's kind of halfway built. That's because we've been working. Myself, I've been working on it personally for at least the last 6 months, turning it from a normal, what we call a gray unit jet, and turning it into a Thunderbird jet, which you see all the time. A couple other things, cockpit setup, just kind of, you know, when we do tours and stuff, you can kind of see what the pilots see. Behind me is our patch. Our patch is kind of sacred to us. That's why it's roped off. You don't touch it, you don't go in it, nothing. There's also a light above it that also stays on at all times, just as a remembrance for Thunderbirds past and present and those that we've lost, so it's always illuminated. There's a very special ceremony that is involved in cleaning it, as well as it's showcased by our giant American flag. We also have a phase section, which we do in-house. Saves us a lot of time, a lot of effort, kind of keeps everyone close-knit, because that's pretty much what we are here at the Thunderbirds. We're a big family. Yeah, that concludes the tour.
Thanks to our amazing speakers today, and thank you for joining us. We hope you had fun and learned more about aviation and space. Download the Aviation for Girls app and watch more videos of book readings, hands-on activities, virtual tours, and more. Remember, Girls in Aviation Day 2021 will be this fall on September 25th. Visit our website, WAI.org, for all the details.